Well, we are going to watch a radical, self-described black leftist melt down when confronted by 20 well-spoken black conservatives. And the bonus is, at the end, I'm going to give you her breakdown of the debate and how it went, as I comment in the meantime for your viewing pleasure. So here we go.
It is undeniable that reparations are just and necessary.
I disagree that reparations are necessary. I think the most important thing that's necessary right now for the black community would be the stopping of violence, especially black on black violence. I don't see how reparations is going to solve anything. You can give everyone here like a $50,000.
Look at that look. Oh, you mentioned black on black violence. Oh my goodness, child. Oh my goodness. How could you?
Especially people that are in the streets who are committing violent crimes consistently. A $50,000 check, it's not going to fix anything. It's not going to increase the median household income in the next 10 years by 10% or 20%. For example, we have the Chinese
to make a Dave Chappelle joke, it's all going to be spent on gold chains and playing craps in Las Vegas.
Exclusion Act of 1882. We prevented Chinese people from getting citizenship and even entering the country. We discriminated against them and basically put them under apartheid, even here in the United States. Yet they have the highest median household income. How is that possible? How come they don't complain and feel entitled consistently to beg for reparations and beg for this when they are killing each other 90% of the time, which is the rate that black people kill each other, according to the FBI?
Oh, young Matt.
Yet white people are the aggressors.
Young man.
I'm not sure where your education came from, but they lied to you.
Stats don't lie.
Well, he's spitting out facts, but they lied to you. You want to come up with some facts? I bet you don't.
Statistics lie all the time. So let's start there.
Except
particularly
when
the statistics are coming from the sources that gain from the statistics being shown a different way. So if you're going to start your argument on stats don't lie, you've already lost the argument. They lie. They lie all the time.
Here's one stat for you that I'm sure will come up later. Blacks, 13% of the population, males, 6% of the total population, black males, commit approximately 52% of the murders, something that I was called a white nationalist for when I said that during George Floyd riots, because it's a statistical fact that cannot be argued with. But of course, she's going to use the facts, the statistics when she desires to, but denies this young man the right to do so, calling it a lie and a perpetration of a falsehood.
Comparing Chinese people who are immigrants that made a choice to come to the United States and comparing the continued effort of black people to ground themselves in a nation that continues to make impediments for them to show and live and exist in their true citizenship is a false equivalency.
I don't believe that happens at all. No one here is in.
Are you acting right now? Do you
Are you acting right now? I'm spitting out facts and you ain't agreeing with me. Are you acting right now? I mean, I'm just telling you, if you don't accept what I'm saying, then you a dumbass.
I'm telling the truth. There's no systemic racism that I've experienced here in America. What system is racist? I think the only racism we've actually seen recently, systemic racism that we've seen, is the application of systemic racism against white people. The University of Western Washington, for example, has been trying to segregate dormitories, using black-only dormitories because black people feel safer amongst each other. But they're more likely to kill each other than white people are ever to kill them. That's just the truth. You have King Von rapping about killing other black men. Why should I think that the white man is the oppressor when black men are more likely to kill me?
Oh my God, this is scary. You need to think about me as your mama. Do not talk to me in that fashion.
Oh, you gotta think of me as your mama.
And you will respect my authority.
In other words, I'm here to not debate. I'm here to dictate to you what you must do and believe. You must think of me as your mama. What a disrespectful comment to make to somebody who's raising a point that you don't even have, that you're insubordinate to your mama for raising it.
So let's check that now.
And you will respect my authority.
Okay. So on a basic level, we have to understand that systemic racism is grounded in the realities that black people have not been considered an equal human being in this country since its onset. So there's simply no way to make the argument that there isn't systemic racism. And we have seen in very clear ways the system operate in an organically racist.
She's right. There is systemic racism, and it's allowing unqualified people into school because of their skin color, and that only goes one way. It doesn't go for Asians, and it doesn't go for whites. And this is why they want to get rid of AP programs, for example, in the Bay Area, advanced placement, calculus, stuff like that, because everybody's got to be equal. So yes, systemic racism does exist. Amanda, you're absolutely correct. Leave your thoughts in the comment section.
This way, do not cut me off. When we talk about systemic racism, we can start with even the fact that redlining, which was implemented to discriminate Black communities. Are you shaking your head that redlining doesn't exist?
No, I'm saying I don't think it really existed at all. I mean, no, I don't think so at all.
So it does exist. And stating that
does
it doesn't
exist.
exist doesn't make it no longer exist. Redlining absolutely exists. It is not.
Where? Point to it. Show me. It did exist. America's not perfect, but does it still exist? You're claiming the perpetual state of systemic racism against Blacks. Sister. Mama.
It is not something that's being made up. It's an empirical fact. And there are realities that exist because of redlining. We know that school systems are related to the way that property taxes are affecting the school systems. If a school system is not getting the same property value as the property taxes allow it, then it's not going to have the same efficacy at allowing for students to be able to get what they deserve. When we talk about
it's not the money that goes into the schools. In Baltimore, it's one of the highest per capita rates for each student, and they have the worst possible results, with most children there illiterate and almost none being able to do math at grade level. So it's not about the money.
Systemic racism, we have to acknowledge that these private prisons are literally built based on the test scores of school students in 3rd grade. So if you are literally building prisons with the onset of, okay, if these people are not reaching a certain reading level, then we know that they're going to go down a prison industrial pipeline where we can use their free labor, then how is that not systemic? And if you want to
stop them from entering prisons,
how are you going to stop people from entering prisons if your goal is to get them into prison?
Sure, make them try to.
The goal was to get everybody into prison. That is the presupposition that she has embedded into the conversation, that white people only see Black people to get into prison. Of course, I'm begging for the Black man to come and steal my car so that he can drive off with it and get arrested by the police so that we get some labor. Forget what happens to the car. Forget all the people that get beaten over the head. That is why we need Black people in the nation, so that we can have a prison population to do slave labor. What a horrible presupposition this woman has.
Be more like Ben Carson than be like King Von. That's very, very simple.
So how does King Von happen? How does King Von happen?
King Von
Don't cut me off.
No, let me land the plane. We're talking about reparations.
Let me land the plane. I get to cut you off, but you don't get to cut me off. Don't you interrupt me. Don't interrupt your mama.
And what you're doing is actually just trying to get this conversation off the facts. And the fact is, reparations are just and necessary because on a basic level, Black people built this country, and the country continues to thrive off of the labor that Black people put into this country. And it would behoove you.
White people just sit on their asses and do absolutely nothing. Every single invention, as Joy Reid pointed out recently, was created by a Black person because white people are too mediocre to create anything. Alexander Graham Bell, the telephone. Albert Einstein, who split the atom, also Black. All of these people are straight out of Rwanda.
Young man, to really understand the way that your ancestors put blood, sweat, and tears into this nation that is still living off of those blood, sweat, and tears. And let me also add, there are reparations and then there is remunerations. Do you know the difference?
Yes, but can I finish one point that I wanted to say?
Question.
Ben Carson.
No, answer the question. I'm controlling the debate.
Ben Carson's cousins were killed at a very young.
I'm so sorry. You've been voted out by the majority. Okay. Please return to your seat.
I hope some of y'all are acting. I really do.
Oh my God.
We in LA. We in LA, and I hope some
we in
LA
LA.
are acting.
I can't believe somebody would disagree with me. I hope y'all are acting.
Oh, what's that on your chain?
This is a coin from Israel.
Lord have mercy.
Lord have mercy, Israel.
That's a choice that you are making for yourself.
Yes.
Oh, and Mama don't approve.
With the whole reparations thing, and I don't know, we're probably close to the same age, so maybe you can't call me.
How old are you?
I'm 32.
I am 44.
Oh, really? Oh, you look young.
Thank you. That's what water and keeping stress out of your life will do.
Really? Mm-hmm. Liberal positions are real stressful.
By the way, I wouldn't know. I'm not a liberal.
She repeats that.
Well, it's the liberal position because conservatives believe in hard work. We believe in going to work and working for what you got,
Yep.
not asking for handouts
Right.
from people who never had slaves. Some of the
Okay.
people that you're asking for money
Preach, brother.
from never had slaves. And let's
Okay.
talk about the fact there were also black people that had slaves.
True.
So
Fact.
if you want to talk about that, how is that fair? If I'm a white person and my family fall on the side of the Union, why should I have to pay for slaves when this whole country was never all racist? Some of the founding fathers were abolitionists, and they hated slavery, and they actually put things in the Declaration of Independence and things too because they believed that there will be a future
All men are created equal. Hello, Dave Chappelle.
where there would be a black president one day, or that there would be people in leadership that were black. There was people in the North who helped with the Underground Railroad and fought with the Union. So why is that fair for people who never had slaves, who fought against slavery, to have to pay for people that had slaves?
One, from my understanding, you are more interested in preserving the fairness of those who didn't have slaves than the fairness of those who are the descendants of slaves. That is priority to you.
Is that your reframe on this? And then you're going to attack it from that standpoint? He's asking you a very simple question.
And finding a fair way to accommodate those who have been the descendant of slaves.
Well, our ancestors wasn't asking for handouts. They were asking for equal opportunity. And we have equal opportunity in this country. We had a black president, just in case you didn't know. We had a black president and we had a black vice president. I mean, I think she was black. They said she was black. I don't know. So we had a black president, and you know who voted for that black man? White people, because you can't win a popular election in this country without white people. So Barack Obama is the product of white people. So let's get off this thing where, oh, America is so racist. What's making America so racist is people that continue to talk about racism and continue to focus on racism instead of focusing on unity and bringing our country forward. People that have these liberal mindset are infecting our communities, black people, and making us victims and not victors. I refuse to embrace a victim mentality because that's not what our grandparents and Harriet Tubman and those people fought for.
That is why this man is almost definitely going to be successful. You can never be successful when you blame somebody else for where you are. No, you look at where you are, you learn from the lessons that you made a mistake from, and you pick yourself up and you move forward. And if you do that, you're going to be successful in this world because it's tilted in your favor for success with all the technology and wealth that we have built up and the infrastructure and the internet. Good for this guy.
They fought for equal opportunity.
Do not bring up Harriet Tubman's name in vain.
Oh, no, brother.
The Lord's name in vain. The Lord's name.
Harriet Tubman was literally saving her family and others from slavery.
Yeah. You know who helped her? White people.
You know who helped her?
They were on the Underground Railroad.
No,
Come on in.
No, you know who helped her?
Come on in.
No, you know who helped her?
God. And
people who benefit from white supremacy. One of the things that
people that benefit from white supremacy. No, they're not white people. They're the beneficiaries of white supremacy, and that's why they helped her. That's how they helped her. An argument makes no sense. Leave me your thoughts in the comments. It's so ridiculous. Those who benefit from white supremacy are the ones who helped Harriet Tubman. You're going to try to reframe the fact that she had assistance from the Quakers and the abolitionists as the beneficiaries of white supremacy. This is how you are defining a group of people based on their skin color. You don't get any more racist than that, biatch.
It's a lie.
No, sir, that's
simply
not true. If that were not the case, then we wouldn't see the continued effort of colonialism and white people placing themselves in positions of power when they do not have the power.
Because their culture, black culture, is toxic. The black culture is toxic. We have produced a culture that is toxic. And let's get on the fact that there's no fathers in the black home. Let's talk about that.
Stop. Don't go there. I get to interrupt.
None of this is going to work if y'all are just going to sit here and make up shit.
We having a debate.
Oh, no. Having a father in the family does not affect the child in the least, is the claim that she's going to make. Oh, no. The fact is that when you have a father, and I'm a father, and I'm with my kids, I bring a different energy than my wife. And it is much easier to raise a child with two parents rather than one. That's a fact. And I'm telling you that from all the parents that I know. It's not just an anecdote, even though it's an obvious one. It's statistically relevant.
Don't work. No, it's a beat. Has to be in facts.
You're
You
putting
are
off
literally
emotional liberalism
I am
right
not
now.
putting off emotional liberalism. You're putting off unfounded lies
That's what y'all
based
do. Y'all
in
start saying
conservatism.
misinformation. Remember they
It
get the
is
misinformation thing all summer where everything
Look at this
conservatives
man.
did. They said
You're carrying
misinformation,
a chain around your
misinformation,
neck of an
misinformation.
apartheid nation that actively wants to harm black people and
What about the
non-Jewish people.
apartheid? What
But
about
let
when-
me
Israelis, they live for harming black people. Do you know that the word for slave in Arabic is abid? Abid? I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce it. They look down. You will not find a more racist society than the Arabic culture. But this is what it's an ad hominem attack. The fact that he's wearing an Israeli necklace. Oh my God, what a horrible woman.
bring it
What
back.
about when
Let
black
me bring
people
it
were
back.
selling black people
Let me
in
bring
Africa?
it. That was not happening in
put
the
them in
context that
cages,
you're saying.
And they were selling
Let's
their own
bring it
people.
back.
Black people still sell
Okay.
their own people today too, by
I don't
the
know
way.
if I'm going to last.
We're selling our own
I
people
can't-
today.
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
if
if
I'm
I'm going to
gonna
last
last.
with
Don't
these
mess with
stupid
me.
people. They're
I
making
won't
great
because your
points.
ignorance is so
See, y'all,
overwhelming.
that's liberals. Y'all start.
What ignorance? The idea that the absence of a father in any household, no matter what skin color, doesn't make a profound difference in the child's life. This is what you are claiming. His statement is being ignorant? You're a sophist. It's sophistry on your part, and anybody can see that. Let me know if you think I'm right in the comments section.
Name calling when
No,
y'all getting
it's
defeated
not
in an
name
argument.
calling. You won't have an
Yeah, it
argument
is.
because you keep cutting me off.
Oh, well, that's fine. If they don't let me come
You
back
won't
over,
even.
I made my
you won't.
point.
You didn't make your
I made
point.
my point.
You
Yeah,
haven't
and
made
I'm
your
okay
point.
with being
And let me
voted
just
out.
tell you about your point. You started off saying we believe in hard work.
Yeah.
And we believe in being compensated.
Reparations is not though. Reparations is not hard work. It's stealing. It's Robin Hood.
You said you believe in hard work.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you believe in being compensated for hard work.
Yes.
Yes.
Were slaves compensated for their work?
They weren't compensated for their work. But why should
That-
people who are sitting at home playing video games, smoking marijuana,
Are you sitting at
be
home playing a
giving
video game?
checks?
Are
But
you
no, the
sitting at
people that
home
they-
playing a video
The people
game?
that they're wanting
Am I
reparations
sitting at
for.
home playing a video game? No.
The people
And
they
I don't
want
know
reparations
I don't
for.
know who these people are that you're talking about because the majority of the black community is not sitting at home playing video
the majority
games.
of the black
Where are
community
you
is
getting
doing
that
a lot of
statistic?
things.
Where are you
A lot
getting
of
that
things is not
statistic?
right. I've been-
Pause.
I thought statistics weren't allowed.
Been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
I knew I was going to be surrounded by ignorance, but damn. Let's
Damn.
go. Next claim is that black on black crime is a result of underinvestment and over policing.
So you say that black on black crime is due to underfunding and over-policing, essentially.
Yes.
I actually don't necessarily disagree with one of those.
Okay.
I think that, however, the government, who do you think should be responsible for the funding piece of the black community? Should that be something that the government should step into, or should that be something that we as black people need to handle ourselves? Dr. Jordan Peterson and even Thomas Sowell and several others have stated one thing, that poverty and crime, there's a positive correlation. There's also a positive correlation in the black community of absentee fatherism being one of the root causes leading into criminality. Black males that grew up without a father are 10 times more likely to engage in criminal activity. And so I think one of the...
Can I put a pin right there and ask you a question?
Ask me whatever you like.
What is the root cause of there being less fathers present?
Bad decision-making on the part of the fathers. We live in a patriarchal system.
Absolutely.
Like it or not. Men have dominated the socioeconomic, economic, and political power of this country and the world since our existence. So our bad decision-making, especially when we focus on the black community, is the root cause of fatherlessness.
What type of decisions?
Not marrying the women we decide to lay down and have children with. Not
That's
being
one.
careful with the seeds that we plant in women. No woman can get pregnant without a man planting his seed inside of her. So therefore...
So it's marriage.
Well, that's a part of it. That's marriage is a part of it.
Okay.
But the true piece that I'm looking at is connectedness between familial units. The black community was at its economically strongest while being at its poorest during the segregation era. Prior to 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King in his last speech said that we have an annual income of more than $30 billion a year, which is more than all of the exports of Canada and more than all of the exports of the United States and more than the national budget of Canada. That was when we were economically at
Good,
our
I'm
poorest.
okay.
Yet 85% of our black children were growing up with a father in the home. There was less black on black crime. There was less disenfranchisement.
Why was there less black on black crime?
Because we needed to live together. We had to stick by each other. We had to stick
What
by
was
each
there
other.
Because you
also
had
less?
fathers that were going to whoop the child's ass if he misbehaved, and now you have none of that, and they are allowed to run amok.
I'm not sure where you're leading. That's a leading question. I don't like those.
You don't like this?
I don't like leading questions. No, I like direct stuff.
So essentially, when we were living in our own communities, we were also policing our own communities. So we were not being used as statistics in the same way to determine how resources were provided to our own communities. When we were going to the government saying, hey, we deserve because we are supposed to be separate but equal, we weren't saying, hey, we want to be with y'all. We were essentially saying, we want what you are stating we deserve. And that is what all of the efforts of the civil rights.
We don't want to be part of your society. We want to be separate but equal, she says, but we want your money.
Rights movement has been. It's literally just been to say, you said when we got out of the Civil War that we would be considered citizens and all citizens should be getting equal access to these things. However, you are actively allowing the Klan to harm us. You are actively allowing...
Who's killed more black people, the Klan or us?
I would like to continue my statement. I let you speak uninterrupted.
Yeah, you speak far longer, and then you you interrupted him and asked if you could put a pin in that, and then posed it and take it in a different direction. When
we talk about this concept of who is harming us, we are really making a false claim when it comes to black on black crime, as if there isn't white on white crime. There's also this unnecessary effort.
There is white on white crime. There's black on black crime. The question is, why are the statistics of criminal activity so disproportionate in one segment of the population?
To try and pathologize black on black crime in a way that you don't try to pathologize white on white crime. There are white people killing each other every single day. Now, they may be on jet skis in the pictures after they shoot up their whole family, but nonetheless, there are white people killing each other every single day. Now, much of the reason why you may see more numbers in terms of black on black crime are for two reasons. One, the statistics be lying all the time. We have seen this.
They be lying all the time. And listen to my statistics. The statistics be lying all the time. She's speaking Ebonics intentionally. They be lying all the time.
Okay,
we have seen this in a real way. So in New Jersey.
When you say that, what numbers can be trusted? Because with the previous speaker, you said
I'm about to tell you right now.
Okay, so your sources can
be
trusted.
You can't such numbers.
Yeah.
No, I'm literally about to give you an example of numbers not being able to be trusted.
Okay, talk to me.
That's what I was doing.
I'm listening.
Okay, then listen.
Oh, my ears on.
Listen, because I'm the authority. You better listen to me.
They had a statistic that was created by the police department that said, look at how many black people are committing crimes. Look at how crazy this number is. These black people are so exorbitantly violent. Look at this. And then people went and actually matched the names that they were booking with the faces of the actual people incarcerated. Okay. And it was proven that they were lying.
So that's one instance. Hold on. No, you're talking to some
biatch. As I said before, 6% of the population, black males, commit approximately 52% of the murders. That's pretty hard to get around. That's an FBI statistic. You want to call that fake? You want to say it's 40%? It's still vastly disproportionate. But it's devastating to your argument, so you won't allow it in. You'll say, those statistics be lying.
That works as a police dispatcher when I'm not making content. So here's the thing. No. You see,
well,
the truth is, you're about to see the truth if you just give me a second. Like Trump said, just give me a second. I'm going to do the weave, but give me a minute.
Well, here's what you all keep doing. You keep interrupting me when I'm talking, and you don't want to hear the point that I'm going to make. And yet you want me to respect your point. And that's not how a debate works. So if you want me to keep getting louder, I will do it. But ultimately,
don't you dare interrupt me. Don't you interrupt a radical black woman who is speaking with your facts and statistics. I'll tell you what statistics are allowed and what statistics aren't allowed. My studies are the right studies, not yours.
If I show you respect, give me the respect back.
You show nobody respect, bitch.
I let you make your points. I am countering your points. And my points are just as valid as yours, even though you got a pocket square and a Church of Christ pin on your chest.
It's not a Church of Christ. It's
whatever.
A cross.
It's a cross.
Same whatever.
Difference.
I don't care.
American flag, and you think you know something because you a cop. And ultimately,
not a cop. Dispatcher. There's a difference.
It's a cab all day over here. So let me make that clear. But let me also add to my point.
You see that in
my point is that you can sit here and blame black people on black people all day long and not acknowledge that we are forced into. You're coming to interrupt me again.
You're going to interrupt me again. Respect my authority.
It's a waste of my time.
So waste of my time.
Want to be seen. I don't need to be seen.
You just want to be seen. You just want to lecture, bitch.
Hello. How are you? I'm Jasmine, the pretty queen. Say less outfit. Okay.
Thank you.
So this is my thing. I think the premise of your question was black on black crime. So I think I'm coming from a place, and I guess my issue is having had my biological father murdered by a black man, having had my cousin shot in the head by a black man. We can talk numbers and statistics and what the people are doing, what the white man is doing, and all that. But at the end of the day, I see when my family lives on the south side of Chicago, and I think you and I both can attest to this, and I'm not saying that there are not other factors, but we know that we kill each other at a disproportionate rate than any other race. Now, why we do that and why 6,000 to 9,000 black men are going to be homicided or killed or whatever by the end of the year annually by other black men, whereas the likelihood of a black man being killed by a white police officer is less than 150 per year, we know that we kill each other at a higher rate. So I'm not debating that there are not factors at play, but because I've lived the experience as a black woman losing my father to be murdered by a black man walking down the street,
to hear that, by the way.
No worries, thank you. But walking down the street in inner cities and different things, knowing that it's more likely that my own brother will rob and rape me than a white man or a white officer, we got to be real.
What's your proximity to white men in the south side of Chicago? Are there even white men around to rob and rape you at the same rate that there are black men?
Oh, yeah, it's only because of the proximity. That means that all the nationwide statistics must be defined by a single anecdote. But hey, it's the white people that kill each other every single day with that white on white crime.
Are white men around
at the same rate?
There wasn't a lot of black people in there, but then that doesn't justify the fact that we're destroying each other. So even if we get to the root, like
we can agree on that.
Okay, because I feel like a lot of
nothing
times liberals will argue like, well,
I'm not a liberal. I'm not a liberal.
Okay, well, I will say that people that sometimes have your stance that are against conservatives, maybe they have this claim that they're making it up. They're making up the numbers. We know that we do that to each other. So I want to get to the root of the issue. Why are we killing each other? I think the root of the issue is we've lost our values and we've lost our resilience as black people. We sit there and we talk about what the white man did and we talk about slavery and everything like that, but we have no self-accountability.
Let me tell you about values. I live in a very high trust society overseas, and you can leave virtually anything out and the odds of it getting stolen are near zero. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but it's near zero. I leave my key in my car all the time with my backpack in there. And if it was in Seattle, if it was in Los Angeles, my buddy had his backpack stolen with a whole ton of shit in it in LA. And here, that just doesn't happen because there are different values, and that matters for a society. There are different incentives that are being offered, not the progressive DAs that let everybody out of prison where it's legal to steal $950 worth of goods from your local store owner and him having no recourse and those people just being freed instantly to the point where they don't even call in and they say the crime statistics are going down. Sorry for the little rant, but values matter greatly.
Accountability and say, you know what, at the end of the day, that is my black grandmother, that is my black sister, you are my black sister, and you know that a black man is more likely to rob you or commit some type of crime against you, and that's what we need to get down to the issue of. And like you were talking about earlier, like, hey, well, what's going on? You know, what do you think the answer is to one of the brothers that were speaking? I think it's the breakdown of the family. I think, like he said, because of our poor choices, and what happens is we look at domestic violence, for example. When domestic violence, women or men are even attacked, what is the first thing we say? It's like, you know what, it's not your what? It's not your fault. So that's what we do. We hold on to this narrative that, well, it's not our fault and the issues in our community, they're not our fault, and the white man needs to give us something. The old white lady down the street is looking at me and I don't know why she got braids in her hair, and we focus on all these other stupid things that don't matter. We don't get to the root of the fact that we're killing each other at a higher rate than any other race. It is self-hatred amongst us. I believe that we can do that, that we, my cousin, my mom's cousin, coming from the church parking lot, and guess who stuck her up and robbed her at gunpoint? A black man.
I need you to get to the point.
Like,
so
my point is that, no, and I'm not trying to be funny, unless like you said, we're gonna keep it respectful.
Yeah, but you're monopolizing the whole conversation.
I'm not trying. Okay, I'm gonna let you speak, but let's not get the attitudes and stuff, because you're my sister and I respect you. So
I don't have an attitude. I'm being direct to you,
but
you're literally not
attitude.
You're not going to do that with me either.
Okay,
so you're stating your point, and you've been stating your point for quite some time.
So
do you have a reason for me to respond?
Would you allow me to respond? So that's a better response. Go ahead.
The response that I have for you is that everything you're saying does not exist in a vacuum. I actually agree with you.
It's all white people's fault. Remember that. In Africa, there's not a single crime. When you live in the paradise of Wakanda, there's zero crime. There's zero slavery. Forget about the fact that black tribes sold their captives into slavery to the Portuguese. And I've been to the slave dungeons of Ghana and seen that in person and seen the history, heard about it. But when it doesn't exist in a vacuum. And when you have white man out there, you can demonize him because it all comes down from the mountain. The shit rolls down, and if we can knock the white man off the top of the mountain, we could rightfully claim our rightful place atop the world where we invented every single thing that exists, and we would have paradise.
Yes, there has been an incredible denigration of Black worth and Black pride in this nation. I think it's also very important to acknowledge what has contributed to that and to state that it is only Black
white leftists and the dogma that you're a victim and that you need welfare and the marriage of the Black woman to the state, which is why the seeds are being planted in the wombs that the state is expected to attend to rather than the Black father.
People that have contributed to that is a false flag. So we have to admit that. So in order to have this conversation around how we got here, you can't say, oh, well, we're caring about the white woman getting braids and that doesn't matter and this thing. All of that attaches. All of that is actually a very big part of the lack of worth of Black people.
I'll ask you, do you think we're resilient? What does resilience mean to you? Do you think we have to be perpetual victims, or do you think that Black people are resilient?
I think that those are two different conversations. I think because I think that the concept of Black people being victims is really trying to not provide accountability to where the root problem for the actual cause is. And if we keep saying that somebody is a victim and that doesn't mean that the other person should have to actually have accountability, then what are we really doing? You can do both. You can be a victim and be resilient.
How do we do both if you stay in the victimhood? That's my question.
But your statement about Black people staying in the victim place is also your point of view.
But how do we rise above it?
It's not really a point of view. It's what she has seen and what is being perpetuated throughout society, where Blacks are incapable without their white saviors to do anything. And I reject that notion because I know a lot of very capable Black people that are intelligent, that have grit, and that will pursue forwards, and they're successful. It's about values. It's about fathers. It's pretty damn simple, but you want to point it to the white man, don't you, Amanda? Because you want to perpetuate the victimhood of the Black person.
To rise above it by one, pouring into our communities with mutual aid, but two, by simultaneously making sure that we are challenging the systems that are in place to impede us. We have so many opportunities where we are trying to do mutual aid, and those things get disrupted by folks who want to have capitalist gain, by folks who want privatization. We used to have all these mom and pop businesses in our communities.
There's over 3 million Black millionaires in America right now. You are an intelligent Black woman that is successful.
That's irrelevant.
No one's stopping me from doing that.
That's
I'm
a
an
lie.
intelligent Black woman.
That's a lie. She is not intelligent. She is a liar. She is a sophist, not intelligent.
Many efforts have tried to stop me from doing what I do. We are not all equal in our capabilities. And we are not all equal in our ability to be invested in by others.
I agree.
We are not all equal in our trauma.
Are we resilient?
We can't say because it is a false equality.
That is the only thing that you're saying. You're saying we rather than individuals having agency over their lives in the Black community. You are taking the we when you want it, and then you are individualizing when you want it. That's the mark of a sophist.
Equivalency.
I believe that every Black person has resilience.
We keep trying, but we keep trying to cause.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You've been voted out.
First, I want to kind of get rid of this like right-left ordeal. I really want to talk about just like our own personal views and what we've experienced, what we've seen. And when it comes to your claim about Black on Black crime, I really do believe, and I think a lot of people here do believe, especially based off of personal experiences and everything, that it is just lack of accountability. In the Black community, we need to start taking responsibility for our actions and stop pointing our fingers at other people and the white man. Because to be honest,
why can't both happen at the same time?
Because
both are causes.
Because you got to clean your own house before you go complain.
Why?
Because if
you're dirtying my house, if you keep pouring shit into my house and I'm cleaning it,
all the white man's fault.
Why can't I do both? Why can't I clean my house?
She is preaching victimhood. She is saying that everything that is negative in the Black community comes from the white man. That is what she's preaching. That is what she is trying to, this is what she is trying to have people imbibe, the idea that it's the white man who is the oppressor. She is everything that is wrong with leftism. No, she's just a leftist. Leftism is just wrong.
And bar the windows from you shitting on my house.
Because it begins with responsibility within us. If we're like, okay, oh, the white person's doing this to me, the white person's not, we're not going to ever come to the core
of the issue.
are.
They are. It's the white black man that shot that last woman's father in the head. It's the white black man. It's all their fault. It's never my community's fault. It's never that we can take agency for the actions that we choose to take. No, you've got to blame the oppressor.
It's not even just the white person, because now we have seen very many races, people of very many backgrounds that are actively participating in the effort to keep a working class down. Like that is absolutely a fact. It's not just white people. So I don't attend to that. But I will say the reality of there being systems in place is real. Over-policing is a real thing. You know what's also been really real is the effort of violence interruption in certain communities, right? So we've seen this in Detroit. We've seen this in New York. We've seen this in Baltimore, where there are communities that have said, what we're going to do is we're going to be like a neighborhood watch for our community, so that before the popo even come, before 12 even rolls up in here, we're going to actually put ourselves in between the conflict and calm it down. And that has been incredibly effective.
Good, whatever works. If it does work, maybe it does. I'm for it.
But you know what? It's not funded. It's not funded. And you would think that like city councils and mayors and governors would say, shit, you know what? This is going to save us so much money, because why? Taxpayers keep having to pay for the fault of these police officers. And even though we say, well,
the police officers are to blame when somebody goes and shoplifts from your local store. The police officers to blame for that. The police officers are to blame when somebody burglarizes your house, when somebody shoots your father in the head.
A certain number of people have died. That doesn't dispel the fact that a large amount, more Black people are imprisoned than any other group in this nation. And that is not by accident.
Again,
it's not by accident. It's because 52% of the murders are committed by approximately 6% of the population, which is Black male, which got me canceled during the George Floyd times. I don't care. It's a fact. Statistic. FBI.
I started with accountability, and it just seemed like
But I disagree with you. No, I mean, I don't disagree with you.
Because here's the thing: look at our media. Look at rap. Look at what we're glorifying. Right. We're glorifying violence.
Who's we? Who's we? Who's
the Black community?
Who controls
the Black community?
Who controls the distribution of these sources of media?
And who takes it in?
And
who takes it in?
Listen, if you're okay, so
I'm fat because of Coca-Cola. Because Coca-Cola feeds me nonstop sugary carbohydrates drinks, right? It's Coca-Cola's fault, not mine for imbibing the liquid, but for Coca-Cola for selling it.
Let me put it in this context. If I have a company, right, and you guys are my employees, and I determine what you get to eat every day, that's also going to determine how you exist in this company, right? Like if you come to work and I say the only thing you can eat is processed foods and fried foods, and you're not going to get to have the best vegetables, etc. What's that going to affect?
Is that the reality on the ground today? No. Not to mention the fact that you have a plethora of foods, aka you can listen to Jordan Peterson on YouTube. You can literally listen to Steven Crowder. You can listen to this biatch on YouTube. It's a choice. Everything in life is a choice. We all have agency over our decisions.
Your health, that's going to affect your ability to operate, etc. This is how the United States operates. There's a lot of us that don't want to admit that as much as accountable as we want to be, all of our brains also don't operate the same way. Some of us are much more apt to be indoctrinated than others. That's a fact. There is a 1% of people that knows this. There's a whole show called Mad Men that's about advertising.
How dare you bring up the statistics? Statistics be lying.
Etc. And if we don't acknowledge multiple things at the same time, then we simply cannot stop it. We can be as accountable as we want to be. And I hope that if you're right, because I hope you're right, I wish that it was a situation where if Black people could just be accountable, then nothing else would matter. But unfortunately, that hasn't been the case, because we have seen when we have Black Wall Street in Tulsa and we have Black Wall Street in Durham, that when we actually do hold our own and build our own communities, they will still come and run it down.
Pause.
Oh, God.
You've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
Oh my God.
Joshua.
Hello, Joshua.
Yeah. So I have two claims I want to settle. So I'm originally from New Orleans, right? And I've seen Black on Black crime my whole life, right? Yes. I don't believe it have nothing to deal with the police. It's more with the community, because there's a lot of pride that's in that city, where to the point where this person can't tell me nothing, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna take him out.
Yeah.
It's that simple in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Now in Cali, it's probably the same way, but I feel like every state is different. You probably the way how your belief is might be right, but in New Orleans, it's a little different. Also, my second claim is this: we proclaim so much about Black Lives Matter, but when it comes down to a white person killing a black person, it's a big deal. It just don't make no sense to me.
Do you know what the statement Black Lives Matter is actually stating?
Yeah, well, like, you know,
Black
just started
Lives
off
Matter?
from George Floyd.
Start off from Mike Brown.
Mike Brown, okay.
So Black
Mike
Lives
Brown.
Matter is really simply just stating.
Mike Brown, the case where everybody said hands up, don't shoot, and that turned out to be false. The Obama administration tried to get the officer on numerous occasions and conducted numerous investigations and found no factual evidence that it was a murder on the officer's part, but the officer's life was, of course, ruined because leftist radicals like this biatch said, hands up, don't shoot.
That when Black people are murdered by the police, that our lives should matter. And that oftentimes it is not
Michael
considered.
Brown was not
It is
murdered.
oftentimes presented as we deserved it, or we must have done something to cause it, and that our lives are disposable. We also don't ever see true justice on the same level as others when the police incur violence against Black.
Sorry, Derek Chauvin knelt on a man's neck who was dying of a fentanyl overdose, was following police procedure that they deleted from the police manual, but was still found to be accurate. And then also, he had begged to be put on the ground, and Chauvin got something like 40 years in prison and stabbed
people. So Black Lives Matter is a statement asserting that our lives are worth justice, our lives are worth preservation, and we have seen in innumerable instances a level of restraint operated between the police and people of other races that they do not seem to carry with Black people. So that's what Black.
You're right. They carry even more restraint because they don't want to end up on the evening news demonized by somebody like you. Let me tell you something. I think all lives matter. I think Black lives matter. Asian lives matter. White lives matter. Mexican lives. Let's not go overboard.
Lives matter means. It doesn't mean that anyone else's life doesn't matter. It means that ours matter just as much as their lives.
That's good that you cleared it out for people. Yeah, that's good, that's good.
I appreciate you. Now, as it comes to New Orleans, tell me this. Well, first of all, it was, I think it's the senator of Louisiana who literally made a campaign ad, Kennedy it was, that said, do you want Louisiana to be run by crackheads? Like he said that, like straight
up. They
up.
have a bunch of them there. Yeah.
So here's my question about
I don't want my state to be run by crackheads. Who would?
New Orleans. Would you say that New Orleans gets, that particular areas of New Orleans, for instance, like the Ninth Ward?
The Ninth Ward's crazy, but I'm just saying they crazy.
Would you say that funding and attention is dispersed equally across New Orleans in terms of resources? Because I know that from living through Katrina, that is absolutely not the case.
I agree with you in that case. Everybody's not equal when it comes down to resources. For sure, I agree with you.
Here's the thing I want to just impart is that I think that we have a very
resources. You want the police resources suddenly?
Distorted version of what resiliency and what restorative practice is, because we live in a time where we're seeing so many things happen so fast. So like we've seen technology like advance so fast, right? Like we have seen just our lives shift so fast that I think that we forget that as humans, our ability to recalibrate, to heal from trauma is simply not the same as the things that we are watching in technology. And so we cannot just casually think that people just get over things. Katrina, people in New Orleans are still reeling from Katrina.
Yeah, they are. That's true. That's true. That is true.
So when we talk about the amount of crime and violence that is still living, and
it's because of the hurricane. That is why there was a disproportionate amount of Black violence. That's because of the hurricane or white person, or maybe the white person caused the hurricane through climate change, and thus was a secondary effect intentionally done, planned out by those racists to induce greater Black on Black crime.
And happening explicitly in Katrina. We have to also talk about the amount of trauma, the amount of drug use, the amount of policing, the amount of all of these things that physically harm people across the world, not just in the United States, across the world in communities that are not being served, and how those communities never get the chance to quote unquote pull themselves up by the bootstraps.
Yeah, I agree.
But you said it wasn't possible.
Agree, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
that
for
was
sure.
fun.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Thanks, Josh.
No problem.
My next claim is systemic racism isn't a theory. It's our lived reality backed by data and history.
Hello?
Hello, John.
John Samuel.
Hello, John Samuel. First name, first name. All right.
Blame my parents.
Hi, parents.
I want to listen to you first. Why do you feel that? Why do you feel that way?
Oh, John came to.
Oh,
John
you're
went
going to
to
give her
debate
the
training before he
soapbox
came
instead of
here.
confronting her.
Okay. Ultimately, I feel that way because it's simply just facts. It's in the books, and that's why there have been laws to challenge it. There have been innumerable instances where actual systems were created specifically for the impediment of Black people to advance. We have also seen numerous instances where there were things created for Black people to advance, and they were taken back under the auspices of, we don't want them to advance. Ultimately, systemic racism exists in our institutions on a government level, in our institutions, whether it's prisons or schools, and it is undeniable because they are actively trying to reinstate it right now.
Can you give me an example of one of those systems that you believe perpetuates that cycle of racism? Redlining? Okay.
Yes.
And how does that, can you elaborate? How is that affecting the Black community?
Do you know what redlining is?
I know a little bit. I'm not an expert.
Redlining was a system that was created to determine property values, and that said Black people can only live in certain neighborhoods and not in other neighborhoods. And the redlining lowered the property values of those Black neighborhoods by stating that they were more savage, that they were more dangerous, etc. Thus, they were not able to own property that was on a level of par to their white counterparts. There were also many efforts at just simply not allowing Black people to get loans for property, putting them in predatory scenarios where they were being essentially unable to own land. And that inability to own land, but still having to pay out a mortgage, if you will, or a rent, continue to put Black people in a
mortgage or rent. Don't you think that those two are very, very different, where the landlord has the risk in terms of the property taxes, owning the property, whatever damage might come, and she's equating mortgage to rent? What a sophist. What a horrible, horrible woman.
Conundrum of not being able to excel at the same economic rate as their white counterparts.
What I'm hearing from you, if I'm hearing correctly, is it feels like in the United States that for a while we've kind of established these systems at their foundation, and they've continued on, and they've continually just oppressed Black people, and we haven't dismantled them, and we haven't done much to them, so they continue to complete the cycle. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Well, in many of these systems, they have been dismantled maybe in name, but because this country has never dismantled the culture of racism, they end up still living in practice. So we see that, for instance, in the way that the appraisal system works. Now, we saw there was an entire documentary on how appraisals have been also very racist, home appraisals, right? So your ability to sell your house for the value that it deserves.
Right.
There were a number of homes, particularly in Marin County, California, where Black people had one appraisal when they had their Blackness up. So they had their dashikis hanging, and they had their, they had their Black Good Times poster. But then when they removed all of those items and put up white people and a dog in the house, and then had their white friends come and pose as the owners of the home, the appraisal was significantly higher. But there are a number of other scenarios where this has been relayed. And that's why there were certain efforts by the Democratic Party to state, okay, well, we're going to try and step in for this.
I actually remember that case, and I watched it with the family, and I thought that was just really just terrible. But the problem I guess I have with systemic racism is, I guess for somebody like me, where my family comes from, the Deep South, you probably don't even know it, Aliceville, Alabama.
Okay.
That's where my grandparents are from. And my grandpa came, if you saw the house that he grew up in, I'm not trying to be funny, it looked like a slave house. It was just, they grew up in poverty. And the fact that he was able to go from that and get the highest rank enlisted in the United States Navy amidst, all these, systems, so to speak, and he was able to buy his own house out in San Diego. He was able to, pass on these things to his son, my dad, and his grandchildren. Now I'm able to get an education. I was able to get my undergrad, my master's, that, the great great grandson of enslaved peoples can now say that, educated and can even run for Congress. I don't see how these systems are still in place as they were before, because before I would say you do have a little bit of a foothold. You do have some validity there. But I just think these days when we call it systemic racism, really what we're calling it is those people who may still be in those institutions, those individual people who may actually be racist and hold some racist ideals, who are continuing to perpetuate this. I believe it's those people. So in all reality, the problem is not the systemic racism. The problem is us. The problem starts with those people who are perpetuating these, racist ideals. And so I feel like just to attack these systems is just, it's nonsensical.
Who's running the systems?
Like which system? You're talking about
whether
Congress,
it's the prison
government?
whether it's the prison industrial complex. We're seeing this now with immigration and ICE. We're seeing this also with the effort at not making schools available.
ICE is largely comprised of Hispanics, by the way, those enforcing the laws. I don't know what she's talking about. The people that are coming over the border are competing with low wage jobs, and that is often those from the inner city. So what's she talking about?
Available for equal level of schooling available with the voucher systems that are now allowing tax dollars to allow people to go to segregated schools.
Right.
Who is controlling those
Segregated
systems? So for instance, in
schools.
Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
So in Tennessee, you have a Senate and a House of Representatives that is largely controlled by white Republicans and have actively said, we are not going to consider what the people want in our constituencies. We are going to simply just...
His point is merely the fact that his grandfather could not have risen to the level that he did if there was in fact systemic racism. Growing up in a slave hut, as I believe he described it, to attaining a high rank in the U.S. Navy and buying a house in San Diego. His point is the fact that this is anecdotal evidence at worst that systemic racism exists no longer.
Do what we want to do, to the point where they have removed...
So it's only in those states that have largely white legislators or largely white people are controlling these systems. I'm not trying to put
All right,
words in your
guys,
mouth.
I'm so sorry. You have been voted out. Please return to your seat.
Oh, Lord.
So to go back to your claim, you basically said something about Tennessee and how they said what exactly. You said they are not in favor of what their people said, or?
Yeah, Tennessee has actively said, we're not really listening to our constituency. We're not even going to allow them in the gallery when we're voting on certain issues. So for instance, like when it comes to like guns in the classroom, like the constituency very largely said, we do not want guns in the classroom. And they were like, well, we don't care. We're going to do it anyway. We've also seen them actively silence members of the House of Representatives who are Black and not silence someone who is doing the exact same action who is a white woman, Gloria. Shout out to the Justins.
You are right, actually, on this aspect. I did actually remember a time where 2 Black Democrats, I believe, were actually not allowed to speak. And that was interesting. And I found that really insane, considering they're representatives of the state.
Yeah.
So no, I totally can get where you're coming from, but I don't think that's a institutionalized problem where it's a law per se. I think it's more so a personal vendetta in a way.
What's the difference if you are a lawmaker and you're exacting your personal ability, your personal choice through impediment of law change?
So if we're going to go based on systemic racism, it has to be institutionalized, which means it has to be written into law, made public. When it comes to that aspect, that's not necessarily made public by law. That's made public by choice and actual discrimination by person.
So I can give you an example in Tennessee.
Okay.
So for instance, in Tennessee, we can say that they are put into law that now tax dollars, the public's tax dollars will be supporting voucher systems. The voucher systems for the schools allow parents to choose whatever school they want their child to go to using taxpayer money. And these schools can be private schools. And private schools are not in any way limited from creating systems of segregation. And this is actually how...
You complained earlier, she did, that the property taxes were underfunding from the inner city where you get lower appraisal values, and they were underfunding education in that area. Now she's saying that when you offer the parents a voucher that they can take anywhere and send their kids to that school, now that suddenly is systemic racism. She is a sophist of the highest order.
Segregation segregated schools was carried out previous to Brown versus Board of Education. So this is a systemic example. We also can acknowledge that systemic examples come from not always it being written into law. And I think that is a real straw man argument for the way that a lot of colorblind racism is carried out in the United States. And what happens when we do that is we ignore the fact that most of the people—
Colorblind racism. And you want to talk about straw men? You want me to bat down this argument of colorblind racism? If I'm colorblind, how could I possibly be racist? If I'm holding an audition for an orchestra and it's done completely in the dark where you can only hear the sounds that are emanating from the instrument being played, and that is truly colorblind, gender blind, and you want to say colorblind racism, huh?
Making the laws are not going to put their racism on the books.
Oh, that's true. Obviously not going to put on the books. But when it comes to the Civil Rights Acts of 1964, then you also want to talk about the one in 1968. They did actually give more fair housing equality.
That was the goal.
Yeah, that's true.
But you see, that's the thing. It's like—
that's the thing.
So that's the difficult part of not changing a culture. You can change the law all day, but as Martin Luther King Jr., as the Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. talks about in his final book, he says, I feel like I integrated my people into a burning house, because he understood America to be a place of morality.
Well, when it came back to even back in the 1960s, like Lyndon B. Johnson actually proposed many systems in place
where he actually won. People still got lynched.
Well, I can't really say that's a systemic problem. That's definitely a personal heart problem. Those are more people's individual choices against someone else. But when it came down to—
if the system that's in place does not incarcerate those people or create any repercussions for those actions, then it is systemic.
Well,
because when you—
You mean like giving a man who shot a carjacker 54 years, but then because a Sweet 16 party in Georgia there were murderers that were in wait, and somebody just got time served after being found guilty? It's kind of, a differential system there, wouldn't you say? It's a two-tier justice system, but guess which one was white and who was black?
Don't allow for there to be repercussions for harmful behaviors of the people. You're literally saying our system is okay with this. So that's what Black Lives Matter is about, right? Saying okay, if police are going to act in this way, well, there should at least be fair repercussions across all people that they're doing this to, and they're not carrying out those repercussions for Black people. Why? And so the system is supporting this personal point of view that you're talking about. And that's what makes it also systemic, along with the fact that we know for a fact that the number of Black people incarcerated is greater per capita than white people. We know that Black people are having longer sentences for the same crimes than white people.
Because they have longer rap sheets before they get sentenced, because they commit more crimes per capita. Simple explanations.
It's not me making that up. That is actual data.
Right,
so
pause.
Systemic is real.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on. All right. How you doing, Amanda? I'm Ryan.
Hello, Ryan. Nice
to meet you. Thanks for being here. All right. Well, what I would say is, as far as systematic racism, right? I think most of us would agree that at the very least it has occurred in this country.
Okay.
Right. We've had slavery, we've had Jim Crow segregation, all these different things.
Yeah.
I think my argument would be that right now in modern America, I don't think, at the very least, it's not as prevalent as it has been to where it could stop us from being successful. Okay. I would say that it's not a thing anymore where it needs to be talked about so much and so much attention focused on it. I don't think that currently there is systematic racism in a way that is going to be harmful to us. Like I said, to stop us. If anything, really, I think institutions such as things with DEI.
What do you think DEI is?
Basically, I think that it's in a way it's racism against other races outside of Blacks.
That's what it is.
And so,
where did you get that concept of it from?
I've researched a lot of things. I looked at different clips from both sides of the argument, things like that. But basically, my point is, I think that as far as systematic racism, I think that there's evidence from the other side, in that there's different things that are pushing Black people up in ways that are not fair, and different things like that. Because I think that we should be merit.
Because you're favoring somebody based solely on the color of their skin. That's why it's not fair. The same way that you should not choose me because I'm white and give me elevated status because of it, is not a reason to do so for somebody else just because they're yellow, purple, black, whatever color they are.
I think that should always be merit-based, and where we're in, when there's jobs and different things like that, race should not be something that's considered. And so I think that, let's say that there are ways right now where systematic racism is still alive. Again, it's not holding us back to a point where we can still be successful. We've seen so many examples, today in modern times where Black Americans can, there's no opportunities that I have that a white person or that a white person has that I don't have. I believe that all opportunities.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Can you actually say that?
I would say that I have every opportunity in this country to be successful, to do what I want to do, and to stand on business that every other race has. Absolutely. And
do you have the
again,
same support?
Even if I don't have the same support, I can do what I got to do.
Do you have the same support?
I probably have more. I can have more support than others.
Support?
I have excellent community support.
Community support is an individual thing, but now you want to make it about community, but then you want to make it about individuality when it suits your argument.
Absolutely.
Lucky for you.
Sure.
Yeah. Where did you grow up in a lower income, middle income, high income community?
It was middle income.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I think that even those who grew up in very needy situations, right, they may not have been dealt a great hand of cards.
But they
can still, I think it comes down to accountability. You can still play your hand and play your cards strategically in a way where you can still be successful, you can still do your thing, and you can wind up on top. And there's nothing stopping us from doing that.
Would you say that low-income white people and low-income Black people have the same ability to excel?
I would say they have the same ability to excel.
Okay, so I'm going to start countering from that point then.
Sure.
So ultimately, we know that our low-income communities are not given the same access to resources on a myriad of levels. They don't even have the same air quality, okay?
You don't even have fathers in the house. That's why you're in the low income level.
We know that low-income communities in general are also going to be much more policed than other communities. We know that policing as it exists in the United States came from slave catching. So even the tradition of policing comes from protecting property, not protecting people. Okay. So let's start there. When we talk about low income, like the working class Black people in this nation, we know that they have never been considered, ever, whether they were slaves or not. They just weren't considered. And we also know, as our brother Isaiah pointed out, that there are still people in very powerful positions that hold very personal positions as it relates to racism. And
he's arguing that he has the same opportunities as anybody in the nation to succeed. And you are going off on this little tangent.
They are impediments to someone moving forward.
Okay.
When we talk about DEI, the concept of DEI is not about lowering a standard. It's about widening the options. So we live in a nation that I feel like a lot of y'all are looking at the United States as a long history of something. We have a short history. All right. For 400 years, there was slavery. Black people were not even considered whole humans. We were 3/5 human. After the Civil War, during Reconstruction, Black people were then subjected to the Black Laws.
What difference does it make what happened in 1860s when you're talking about opportunity and equality that is available for every Black citizen of the United States today? You want to go off on some history that happened 150 years ago rather than addressing his points. You're a sophist. You're a liar.
Black laws were specifically for Black people. The Black laws incarcerated Black people at such an exorbitant rate that they were able to get another slave labor force through the 13th Amendment because you had Black people that were serving entire life, like months-long, years-long sentences for jaywalking.
Okay.
So when we look at these things,
Did the person have 3 murders under his belt already that was sentenced to years for jaywalking? Somehow your story seems a little dubious to me.
Act as if, well, why can't we just get over that? That's 2 generations previous, okay? So if a father in the early 1900s was incarcerated for 2 years, how do you think that would impede?
Listen, my grandparents came from Poland, and my dad's side of the family was slaughtered during the Second World War. I don't know who has it worse. Black people who were discriminated against, granted, in the early 1900s, even till, say, 1980, or my grandparents' family who was slaughtered because Adolf didn't like them or their thoughts on any matter and blame them for the defeat in the First World War. Who had it worse? Yet they succeeded because they had agency. That's what you need. Agency and opportunity. Where they meet, success will be reached.
Their family from being able to grow, right?
Sure.
Now you're affecting the ability for their children to have two parents in the home. You also now have a mother who's like incredibly stressed and may have to always be working, so she's not able to parent, etc. We also know that there is a continued effort in this nation to not have Black people know the history of this nation. Like our good sis here was talking about, like, we have resilience, but this nation actively works systemically to keep that from us, right? We look in Florida at the laws that they are passing to not allow education about our past. And we know that if we don't know
that's a lie. And she's just laundering it in as fact that you're not allowed to teach about the past. That is just absolutely untrue.
Came from, how can we know where we're going?
Sure, okay.
All right, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
All good.
That's flags.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi again.
We cool now?
We good. We good. I think we're on the same. We're kind of looking at the same side of the same coin, and I think we both want the betterment of the Black community, and I think we're maybe coming from it from different ways. And so I do respect your position to what you were saying as well, that there are certain things and powers at play. And I've experienced racism firsthand. A lot of conservatives may try to act like, oh, there's no racism in America. I absolutely believe there is racism in America. I believe racist people exist. I just don't think that the systems as they stand today are inherently racist, because I've seen too many Black people overcome. And I just feel like a lot of times what's left out of the dialogue is self-accountability and like self-will. We talked about how we were 3/5 of a person, but now we are 100%, I guess, according to the law or whatever, a person. And I feel like at the end of the day, if you wanted to walk out here right now and decide, you know what, I want to change my career, I want to do that, you can. And that's why so many people, and Nigerians come here, and Indians come here, and so many people who are not white, who are supposed to be discriminated against because they're not white, they come here and they become doctors and lawyers. Why? Because to your point, there's community. There's a sense of pride about, you know what, I got to go honor my parents back in Nigeria. I'm part Nigerian. I have to go honor my parents. I have to go honor my elders. They're not twerking and shaking booty.
Values.
They are literally twerking and shaking booty in
the
Nigeria.
Nigerians I know ain't doing it. If they are
we
twerking, shaking, but they doctors
from Africa.
They're doctors twerking and shaking booty. So maybe they can shake because they got the money to back it up. But do you see what you're saying? But do you see what I'm saying though? We have to be honest, Amanda. When Indians
as a fellow daughter of an immigrant, right? So my mother's from Grenada. My mother did come here and was able to work and was able to get green cards for folks. So shout out to my mom. There's a very big difference in growing up somewhere and coming from a place where you are the majority and where your people are running the show than being somewhere where your people have been subjugated the entire time your people have been here.
But your mama came here.
Then how did your mother succeed? How did the Nigerians succeed if there's systemic racism in place? Wouldn't that discriminate against the new people that are just off the boat that maybe don't speak English perfectly or speak it with an accent?
She wasn't the majority, so how did she succeed?
She succeeded because she came here with the fortitude of coming from a place.
Agency.
She had her village.
Let me say what I'm saying.
Okay, I'll let you unpack.
If we don't acknowledge divide and conquer in the United States, we are having a pointless conversation.
I agree.
We have to acknowledge that there is a concerted effort at divide and conquer in the United States. We're literally watching it happen right now with an effort to divide and conquer and have Black people fighting immigrants.
You are trying to divide and conquer the nation. You and your ilk of radical leftists
have Black people saying that immigrants don't matter.
And so fighting white people.
White people is not the point. The concept of white people is about people who are upholding a supremacy of whiteness versus people who understand that there should be an egalitarianism. There should be an equality.
We are becoming the new white supremacists.
We are.
We've been putting them on a pedestal.
We are.
We feel like we can't do anything.
No, it's not that we're putting them. It's not that we're putting them on a pedestal. It's that we are joining them and instead weaponizing our Blackness against our people. When we do what you're saying, we are saying, I am better because I figured it out, and so you're the problem because you didn't figure it out.
But Amanda, what about if I believe that the American dream is, I have a right to that as well? Is that me joining white people, or is that me saying, you know what, I want a life for my dream? The American dream for me, because it may look different from other people. Some people it's a boss chick. For me, I want my kids to grow up in a wonderful neighborhood. I want them to go to college. I want to have a 401k. I want to do this. I want to do that. So I feel like a lot of times in the Black community, we associate anything that's right or that's just or that's striving forward with whiteness. So when you say that we're working with them,
it's whiteness, it's capitalism.
Oh no, capitalism. Oh my God, that whole engine that produces the wealth for the world, the technology that we are incentivized to create because there's not another way to do something more cheaply yet. until somebody invents it, and that benefits everybody. The problem is capitalism. The problem is whiteness. What a horrible woman.
I think that's what we have to understand the difference of. The concept of capitalism always is grounded in exploitation.
But
so
Amanda, we're sitting here benefiting
No,
from capitalism.
it's
And you know
not.
that because you would
I
want to move to a
understand that we are
communist state.
benefiting. I understand
Yeah.
that we are benefiting from capitalism, but I also understand that we would have other people and a majority of people benefit if we were not solely capitalist. That is what it means to be a Black radical. It's to understand that I can.
That's what it means to be a Black radical, and you got to join me because I'm the mother here, and I know everything better than you.
Benefit as well as others.
So, Amanda, what is your solution then? Because we know that capitalism benefits us, and people are
My
coming here every
solution
day.
is what I continue to say. We need to have coalition building across cultural differences, across ethnicities,
And take
across
down white
classes.
and that includes
capitalism.
collaborating with white people.
I've never said it didn't.
But I feel
This
like a lot of
obsession with white people fails to acknowledge the fact that there are people who benefit from white supremacy.
But we
who
live
do
in
not-
America,
Let me finish
Amanda.
my point.
Go
There
ahead.
are people who benefit from white supremacy that do not identify themselves as white. They don't consider that to be the most.
Like Larry Elder, the black face of white supremacy when he was running for governor in California against Gavin Newsom, who has destroyed the state. But y'all supported Gavin Newsom, but not the black face of white supremacy because Larry Elder, the man whose father was raised in the Deep South and had the worst jobs in the world and built his way up and ran his restaurant, and Larry Elder, an enormously successful individual, is the black face of white supremacy. But he benefits because he buys in to the capitalist notion of what makes humanity better, the incentive to create. That is what has propelled mankind past the beast.
Important element of their identity because they understand that at the end of the day, we need to see each other as humans that all deserve a right to exist.
Exactly.
We
I
all
agree.
deserve a right to exist, and I shouldn't have to earn my right to exist. And
You do,
that
but-
is what
but
capitalism
What makes you think
does.
that you have to earn it? That's what
That
I'm saying.
is
Like,
what
I
this
don't feel
nation
that
is.
way.
You do have to earn it.
You don't have to earn
You want everything for free. You want everything to be given to you because of the color of your skin. And if anybody has a different notion, then that is the white supremacy in action. Those who benefit from the white supremacy are capitalist adjacent. How dare we try to improve other people's lives and profit from it?
Yes, you do.
We are
That
in
is why we are
America, Amanda.
criminalizing the poor. We are criminalizing the poor on a regular
How?
basis.
How so?
How so? Because we're not even allowing for a wage to happen to allow people to get out of poverty. We are seeing
Amanda,
inflation.
we
No,
both have people in our family that have done it, so we can't.
no, we have
say
not
that.
had people that are done it.
No,
My-
we have not. There's not been one person that's ever succeeded that, like the man that came from whose grandfather was in the Navy and then was able to provide a house in San Diego for his family. Yeah, there's nobody that's ever been successful. Nobody's risen up from the bottom of the ranks.
mother came to America with an entire nursing degree. I can't say, oh, well, my mother did it. Why can't you? Because my mother
mama was pregnant at 19 from the south side of Chicago with no degree and still made
Good
something
for
of
your
herself.
mom,
That's what
but
I'm
this is the
saying.
thing.
So we can't.
But she
Your
said
mom
that
is-
nobody's ever done it.
It's not. The question isn't whether or not some people can do it. The question and the reality is that it is not available to everyone in an equal way.
And that's unfortunate, man. But you know we live in a
It's
broken
not a matter-
society.
it-
I went to
Well,
You
Nigeria.
don't even
yeah,
have to
they're-
accept her statement. If you're born without a father, you're going to be at a disadvantage. If you're born retarded, you're going to have a disadvantage. If you are born radical black, Amanda Seales style, you're going to be at a tremendous disadvantage because nobody's going to like you except for your ilk.
the same
about.
problems, and
But
there's a
that's
bunch
what
of
we're
black
talking
people that are
about.
running
It's a broken
Nigeria.
society.
But it's the same thing in
But
Nigeria. and there are
Nigeria
black
is a
people in
broken
power-
society,
with black
whereas
people in
Burkina
power.
Faso is not. Burkina Faso is not.
That's time.
My final claim is Black conservatism fails to meet the needs of the working class. Ant dog. Okay, talk to me.
So I think Black conservatives, we're the ones who really want the best for working people.
Oh.
I think we're the ones. Like a lot of the liberals, a lot of the leftists, they want us to do things like office work. They want us to go reparations, try to get things from the government and get handouts. We say, hey, go out there and work. Go out there and get these jobs that are available. Work with your hands, do skilled trades. That's where a lot of us talk about, skilled trades. So working class, that's really a Black conservative thing, in my humble opinion.
I would beg to disagree. I think that would be true if Black conservatism also created pathways for people to get those jobs and also to be able to challenge the corporation.
It's called capitalism. It's called entrepreneurship. It's called opening up your own shop. That's how you provide people's job. You have an idea and you say, hey, I'm taking a risk. Y'all come and join me. I'm going to employ you. And if the business succeeds, then I'm going to take a majority of the profits, but I'm going to try to elevate your standard of living by my entrepreneurship. But that's capitalism. That is what the conservative values that protect this economic infrastructure, they benefit everybody in it who participates. Except when you have crony capitalism, that's a different story.
That are using their labor, that are stealing from them and not impeding them from having a union. So for instance, like in the South, right? I just left North Carolina where I met with the USSW, the Union of Southern Service Workers. This is an unofficial union of individuals who work at places like Waffle House, at Food Lion, etc. And their unofficial union is unofficial because the conservatives in that state will not allow for them to be officialized.
Legitimized.
Legitimized.
There you go. I got you.
It will not allow for them to be legitimized because then they would be able to push back legitimately on the corporations to get fair wages, right? So like someone was telling me in this.
A fair wage is what I agree to and what the employer agrees to. If you try to say that the minimum wage is $2 an hour, guess what? It's still going to be approximately what it is right now because nobody's going to work for $2 an hour. I live in Southeast Asia and nobody's working for $2 an hour here. And these are some very poor people. You go to Cambodia, I'm not even sure that you're going to find that many people for $2 an hour. This statement is ridiculous. The minimum wage will be whatever the market decrees it is. When I was younger, I was willing to work for much, much less. I used to mow lawns and weed for maybe $2 an hour. That was when I was very, very young, but I needed money. And I did that because I was an entrepreneur and I wanted to better my life. So I traded my time for money. That's not the case today.
Organization that she was in Baltimore getting $15.25 as a minimum wage. And then when she moved just one state away, she was now only getting $7.25 for minimum wage, but the cost of living was the same for her. So when we talk about, you know, the effort of saying, go out and get these.
And you're going to have fewer jobs at a higher minimum wage. Just take a look at what happened in California when they raised the fast food minimum wage to $20 an hour. How many workers got laid off. It's an economic reality that this woman doesn't want to face because she's only looking at it through the prism of fairness and not reality.
Jobs and get these trades, etc. I think that that is valid, but I think that the impediments by leveling up corporations and by pouring into the effort of corporations to keep billionaires, as Black conservatives, you are actually cutting off the ability for those.
You don't keep billionaires. You create it like Elon Musk has by creating new and novel products, or Jeff Bezos, who created Amazon, who has items delivered to you same day that you order for a very minimal price. That is innovation, and that is what creates a billionaire. It's not about keeping billionaires. It's about creating the products and services that enable them to become such.
People to excel.
Okay, I understand your point, but a lot of us are more about being self-sufficient. So the South, a friend of mine down there, King Randall, has a school for boys. He's 22 years old. He has a bunch of kids living with him. He's teaching them physical skills they can do. Okay, being a mechanic, working on your car, working on your house, doing things with your hands. So you don't got to worry about corporations. You could be your own man. You could be your own woman. And also, didn't you also say earlier that you're against unions? But are you for them now?
No, I never said that.
Oh, so you're for unions?
Absolutely.
So when the unions keep Black folks out, you're for that as well? Because that's traditionally what they've done, keep Black folks out, correct?
Obviously, I am not for that. The reality is that unions have definitely in the beginning kept Black folks out. And the reason why they were keeping Black folks out is because after the Civil War, when there was Reconstruction, you had all these Black people that had been used with free labor and they had skills, right? Whether they were a blacksmith or a carpenter or whatever. However, they could not get jobs because the white people who now had to fend for themselves, if you will, because they didn't have slaves, they had to go and learn all these trades.
Right.
And so they actively.
I'm not advocating for slavery, don't get me wrong. But I just despise this woman's framing that everybody's life was so easy and it's always the oppressor versus the oppressed. She's just a sophist.
Black people out of those jobs. And then what they would do is that when they would, as a union, say, we're going on strike, the Black people would be like, well, we'll work because they won't let us in their union anyway. And then when they would go and actually get those jobs.
And that's the problem with unions, is that you're always going to have people that are going to work for a lower wage. That is the economic reality. And if you try to suppress or keep that wage elevated, then the business moves elsewhere, like overseas. This is just the fact. This is economics. This is how things work, because otherwise the company is going to create a product at a higher price than the competitor, and they are going to go under because consumers are going to buy the lower priced product that's exactly the same.
That the people were on strike for, they would hang them. They would lynch them. So yes, these are real things that have taken place. But we keep having these conversations where we acknowledge the past when it's convenient, and then we only stay in the present when it's convenient. So you can't simultaneously say, well, everybody's fine now and there's no systemic racism at the same time as stating that there are unions that are racist and unions that aren't racist. Ultimately, there is racism in the United States. It is deeply embedded. We have seen it in a myriad of examples.
The racism comes from you.
Even just yesterday or today, and Black conservatives are working against the working class because they are actively placing their vision, their ideology of Black excellence in economics solely.
Well, there is racism
and in individual economics. And I think that's really the big difference of what we're talking about right now. You're talking about every man for themselves. Every man for themselves.
No. I don't say that.
Oh, you didn't say that?
I say that we have to be individual as people, as Black people, but still get all of us on the same page. My friends at school, he's not just looking out for himself, looking for all these kids as well. So it's like, okay, I bring myself up and then bring everybody else up, rather than relying upon the corporations and white people to lift this up. That's where we come from as Black conservatives.
So I think there's a difference between relying on and acknowledging that there are impediments of. And I want to acknowledge the reality that we keep seeming to bump up against, which is that everybody has equal ability, and they don't. Everybody doesn't have the same impediments. So, for instance, I grew up with a single parent, not because...
Me too.
I grew up with a single parent, not because my father was some deadbeat that didn't have... My father has a MD from Harvard. My father has an MBA from Tufts.
My dad was a firefighter, so working class, conservative.
He just didn't want to be a parent. So when we talk about this whole idea of like, oh, the Blacks at...
That's a bad man. I'm sorry. If you don't want to be a parent and you fathered a child, it's incumbent upon you to help raise it.
That are, not doing the thing. It's not about necessarily what class you're in. It's literally just about, we live in a nation that gives the option of, I don't want to be a parent. We live in a nation that gives the option of, I don't need to be in cooperation with our community. And as far as I'm concerned, Black conservatives do not address the needs of the working class, which are fair access to resources, which are equal access to getting jobs, which are equal pay to the same access as others. And we don't.
Equal to who?
Equal to other states even. Like there's no reality where you can
then move to the state where you think that you're going to get a job at a higher wage. That is freedom. That is agency.
And say that the same amount of white people are working low-wage jobs per capita as Black people. A lot of the reason is because there's such a disparate incarceration of Black people that it impedes their...
Because they commit crimes at a disproportionate level. That's why, not because of systemic racism. If anything, there's been much evidence that lately we've gone incredibly soft on the sentencing of Black people.
Ability to get higher level education as well as higher level employment because we know about disenfranchisement.
All right, there you go.
Hi.
Hi, Layla.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
I'm
to meet
Layla.
you.
I would actually argue that the Black working class is failing themselves. Wouldn't you agree that, in order to get a job, in order to qualify for a certain position and an education system at a job, wouldn't you argue that it should be based off of qualifications and not your race or identity?
I've never argued that. I've never argued that. That's not
I
the
know
case.
that you were saying that you would argue that it should be equal, right? So you're saying
That's
that
what
there
you're
should be
arguing
Black
for DEI.
Americans in education systems, in jobs, but wouldn't you argue that they should be qualified for those positions and not just placed there because of their skin color?
I've never disapproved that.
Okay, so let's say...
That's not what DEI is.
Okay.
Do you know that?
Well, I'm not talking about DEI.
Yes, that's exactly what DEI is, that we need a proportionate number of Blacks, Asians, whites that represent the population, because that's the only way that it works. It's equity based on race, not on merit. That is exactly what DEI is.
DEI right now. Well,
because you're suggesting that I suggested that somebody should get a job just because they're Black. And I've never asserted anything like that.
I mean, I understand that you may not say that exactly, but a lot of the claims are, they're pointing to that.
No, it's not pointing to that. And so that is that. I need to clear this up because it's a really important point.
Okay.
We live in a nation that has actively pedestaled white people. Can we all agree on that? That we
in the past,
we can't.
in the past,
in the
but
past,
not currently,
in the past.
but not currently.
So fair.
Okay.
Okay, so how many Black people are a part of this administration's cabinet?
I'm not sure. Can you tell me? Can you fill me in?
0.
Oh.
Who?
So seems like there may be a
That's
couple.
not a cabinet.
I don't know.
Scott Turner.
So because you make a claim that for certain jobs, there need to be Black people, that must be a priority. What about the NBA? what percentage of of the NBA do black people constitute? 73%. And I'm telling you that as a basketball player, if I had to make a choice and the only thing I knew was the color of the basketball player's skin, and I had never played with either of them before, and they're the same height, I'm choosing the black guy because I'm racist.
Okay.
So we got two.
So there are.
So we got two.
Can
we
we
got
also,
two. We got two. So back to your point, DEI.
We got two. But that doesn't dispel my claim. Oh, there are 2 people on the cabinet that are black. But no, I'm going to claim that it's 0 because I'm the mama. I'm the teacher.
It's about expanding.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Not lowering credibility.
Okay.
So if we have a system that has very actively said these particular people are the best people simply because of their race, DEI said, or their gender.
Okay.
Because DEI mostly leveled up white women.
Okay. So it would be incorrect if it's, if we're pointing toward this, a majority of race is qualified because of the base of the skin color. Okay.
Yeah. Whether they're white, black.
Okay,
I mean, race is fake anyway.
Now, I do want to touch on a point that you did mention earlier, that you would argue that, black people have less opportunities in America. I do not agree with that. I have not had,
First of all, you're a light-skinned woman.
And so are you.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
You see, I'm much more prejudicial towards people that are as dark as midnight versus a light-skinned woman. That's what it is. That's the way I'm going to take down your argument.
So colorism really does serve us.
I do want to say, why do you think that is, though? Why do you think that? Do you think it's just based off the color of our skin, or do you think it's based off of the reputation that black people make for themselves?
What reputation are black people making for themselves?
What would you argue? Because I mean, when I look at
who makes the reputation for black people,
let's look at music. For example,
we already had this conversation with somebody else.
Well, we're gonna have it again. Most of the people that
are we?
Most of the people.
Are we?
I'm gonna shut it down right now and let you know that
I'm gonna shut it down right now.
When you come to black music, for you to say most of the people, you've already lost the argument.
Am I right?
There is no most of the people with black people because you haven't heard of all of black music.
Most of the music that is, let's say, maybe exalted or shown by the media, right?
And who controls those systems?
It defiles black America.
Every individual artist essentially today controls their music, and you can get distribution any number of ways. On YouTube, Rumble, SoundCloud, there are a variety of ways that music is distributed, and nobody today really has a stranglehold on the music industry. That's the reality, but she wants to say that it's the white Jewish person that controls what black people are listening to, and therefore that is why they are coming up, because it's intentional that we want to elevate single fatherhood and murder in the black community so that they have results.
But who's putting it out there? We are black. We're the ones putting it out there.
The distribution systems that are putting them out there are owned by white people.
Who listens to them? Because I can bet you most of my friends, my black friends that are not conservative, they listen to that music that defiles their bodies.
You know
that
who
talks
else
about black on black crime, and
everybody else. But if we don't
right?
acknowledge that they are not in the same way pursuing white voices talking about the same thing, even though they are, we simply like to start at the branches of a tree and not at the root. We have to understand that the media is king. Okay, media is king,
and media does not favor conservatism. I can tell you that right now. I mean, look at the protests right now in Los Angeles.
Depending on who is in office, media does favor them.
I mean, we have Trump in office right now, and media is not favored.
Yes, they favored Trump. The media was all in for Trump on his first term with the Russia hoax, was telling everybody that he was a racist for saying that there were fine people on both sides, when in fact he stated.
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
Yes, the media was totally on the side of the conservatives. And Donald Trump's not even a conservative. Imagine if it was a real conservative, what the media would do. Oh, wait, it's just a special demonization of Donald Trump, which is partly true.
Media is absolutely not favoring Trump in certain spaces because Trump is also not favoring that particular type of media. But it depends on the day. And we have to acknowledge that regardless of whether you talk conservatism or not, media has never favored black people at any point.
All right, guys, that's time. You've been voted out.
Thank you.
Please
At any point.
Thank you.
I'm back. So let's talk about facts. I just want to move back to systemic racism because you mentioned systemic racism earlier. I just want to look at 3 applications of systemic racism against white people and against East Asians as well. So for example, we have the National College Attainment Network, which defines affirmative action or even race-conscious admissions as taking race as one of the factors in whether or not you're going to admit a student. And we noticed that when race-conscious admissions was out of it, black enrollment dropped 64%. at UC Berkeley. And that is an act of systemic racism. Trying to look at people's races and allow them into colleges whether or not they're of a set race is racism. And it's race conscious. And Martin Luther King's most famous quote is that he doesn't want his children to be judged based on race, but by the content of their character. And the content of people's characters also includes merit. We have another example of systemic racism. Burgess Owens. He's a representative out of Utah. He's a black Republican representative. He called out the MIT president for having black-only dormitories. I mean, what does that mean? Why are we trying to segregate each other and say that black people feel safer amongst black people when the truth is they are actually more in danger when they're around black people? And that's unfortunate.
I really like this kid.
It's sad that I'm saying this, but it's the case, and I have to say it because it's true, okay? Black people are killing each other at a vast, crazy rate. Black men rapping about it. It's savagery. It's barbaric, and we shouldn't be doing it as a people. We should try to get more Ben Carsons. Ben Carson's cousins were murdered when he was younger, but his mother came to him and gave him a book and told Ben Carson to read and study so to not be like his cousins.
Agency.
And Ben Carson separated two twins at the back of the head, and he's known as one of the best renowned neurologists or neuroscientists that we've ever seen, right?
Ben Carson said that slaves were immigrants.
Well, they were brought here to the United States, and many of them were slaves, and we know that to be a fact.
So that's the way that you're going to try to denigrate Ben Carson because of something that you're going to claim that he said, rather than addressing his point? You're just going to straw man it in this manner?
What is the difference between someone being an immigrant and being a stolen person?
I mean, I understand that many people were...
What the hell? This is just sophistry. This is a straw man. She's redirecting the conversation to try to attack Ben Carson based on one thing that he said, and you're completely derailing the points that he made. This is what you call a deflection, a straw man, whatever.
Stolen here, but 90% of historians agree that slavery would have not been possible if black slave owners within Africa didn't sell off their people. White people didn't show up and just start stealing people. They didn't do that. That's not how that worked.
They literally did that.
But they didn't.
I've been to the slave dungeons in Ghana. I've heard the stories and the historical accounts. And yes, it was absolutely the African tribes that sold them into slavery.
Worked with black owners and
They
Arabs.
literally
the same thing.
did that.
It's funny
and
you guys talk
Arabs
about
did that as well. And I think it's very important. And I think it's important to note that there is an oversimplification of history as well as of black people in Africa. There's a failure to acknowledge that in Africa, black people did not consider themselves black people. That was a racial distinction that was solely created by white oppressors.
You're absolutely right. There's no tribalism whatsoever in Africa. Zero racism. The fact that they sold each other into slavery based on the fact that they had conquered another tribe and sold them to the Portuguese as captors has nothing to do. Africa is Wakanda. It is a paradise. It is beautiful. That's why they invented all of the world's inventions, and the white man just stole it from them.
To legitimize slavery.
Arab oppressors, actually, because the Arabs did it in the 7th century. They were the first ones.
They did not name it under blackness. They simply just decided we're going to go and have enslavers. This was a decision that was actualized and then tried to be pushed forward through eugenics. Literally, there was an executive order that was...
She is such a sophist. She's not addressing this kid's argument. He's a very smart, intelligent kid, but he's allowed her to derail his argument.
Passed a few months ago that said that Donald Trump wants to now control the museums because he wants to take back control of the narrative around race. And in one of these museums that they cited was that there was a display that speaks about race not as a biological thing, but as something that has just been created as a social construct.
There was a Smithsonian exhibit that stated that whiteness is being on time, that it is attending to your children, that these are all constructs of being white. This is what was on display in the Smithsonian, and now Donald Trump doesn't believe that these exhibits are so great. I wonder why.
That is an incorrect expression of race, that race is biological.
But it is biological. Like, let's look at our phenotypical traits, the nose differences, the hair texture. It's a biological thing. Sure, there's a social concept, but there's biological differences that exist.
You're very convicted in your lack of information around these things.
What did he say that was incorrect? You want to denigrate him. You want to engage in an ad hominem attack rather than explaining to him why he's wrong when he's right.
Race and ethnicity are two different things, okay? Ethnicity is where you're from. Race is literally something that was created to put people into categories of caste, to put people into categories of oppression. Race is not something that you are. Race is something that was...
That is not true. Race exists everywhere. Even within Europe, there are biological phenotypical distinctions where you can tell that somebody is likely French or Russian or Italian. That is just a fact because the populations bred and developed geographically isolated, which is why you can tell a Cambodian in many circumstances, in many cases, from somebody who's Thai, because the Cambodians tend to have wider noses. This is considered to be a race. She's just a liar.
Stowed and put
That's
upon you.
racism, not race. Race is simply the
race
aggregation.
is literally something that was created and put upon you. And I want you to listen to me as somebody who has studied this, who has a master's in African American Studies from the Institute for Research in African American Studies at Columbia University. I want you to understand very clearly that race is not something that is biological. There is literally
Look at us.
no.
Look at the
There
differences.
there is many differences that are equated to ours that
And
has
they're
nothing
not
to do with
biological?
race.
Melanin
That has nothing to
content
do
is
with
not
race.
biological at
so
all?
if you have a black parent and you have a white parent, and now you come out looking white, how is that a biological
But most
proof of your race?
most of them
There's
come
no
out
most of them.
having
Stop,
curly
stop,
hair.
stop. There's no most of them. You do not
Mixed
have
race?
anything to
You're
prove
mixed
that.
race.
And they almost all come out with brown eyes and curly hair because these are dominant genetic expressions, where if you have the blue gene, not to be confused with Sydney Sweeney, but if you have the gene for blue eyes and the gene for brown eyes, the brown-eyed gene is going to win out, and that will be the expression of the eyes. What she's saying is just false.
It's too.
I am not mixed race. My mother is black and my father is black.
Well, my
How
father
dare
is
you.
also considered black, but he's very much has a lot of European DNA. And
You know what I think? I think that you are at a phase of your learning where you are a contrarian.
hominem?
And I look forward to seeing your development, because I have a feeling that you're actually going to flip the script eventually, because you are somebody that definitely is grounded in wanting to learn facts and wanting to learn the truths of things.
Unlike you.
However, you're currently still stuck in an indoctrinated space that is tricking you into thinking.
She has the nerve to call him indoctrinated. She's attacking him. It's an ad hominem attack versus what he's saying. He is saying that there's a phenotypical expression of the genes and that this is based on race. And she's just attacking him and saying, you'll get there one day. You'll get there one day.
That you are something that you are not. You are a black person who is literally having to receive the results of racism, but ultimately you are of an ethnicity.
What if I choose
that
to
has
send it back?
thrived in spite of it. And that is where we really exist from. And that is where our resilience comes from in spite of systemic racism.
I think our resilience is happening now. I think growing, understanding the real problems, not going out and trying to protest against. You guys don't ever do this. KTS.
You
Dre,
guys don't ever do that.
KTS
Who is
Dre.
you guys?
Members of the black
Leftists.
community don't want to hold people accountable, especially black people.
Yes.
So KTS Dre was shot 60 times outside of Cook County, Chicago. How many BLM members came out? You earlier said BLM
Stop
is about
referring
police.
to me as you guys.
Okay, that's fine. So, for example, we had a really good example of this where it's not a police, because I remember you
Where
said.
are you from?
Where am I from? What do you mean by that? Like, what state am I from? Where was I born?
Where do you live right now?
What does that matter? Why don't you let him continue with this point rather than trying to derail him?
I live in Florida. I was born in Angola, though. I was born in sub-Saharan Africa. Okay.
Where did you grow up for most of your time?
In Maine. I lived in North America.
In Maine.
Yes.
And what is the population of black people in the town that you're from?
It's really extremely low, but I grew up around black people, and there was a black community where I lived.
And that black community that you lived in, did they teach you about black history in the United States?
Not your black history.
Are your parents black American?
Yeah, my mom is black. My father is black.
No, I'm asking, were they born in the United
No,
States?
because I wasn't born there.